big problem on our hands. While trying to resolve it, we took what one may call an easy way out. We realized there was a market for organic juices, and we started adapting our plant. Yeah. And this is what we did, and that's what we're exporting now. The EU is moving towards zero residue levels. EU is moving towards organic. It turns out organic farming, at least with pineapple and some of the vegetables that we grow and fruits that we process here, the farming conditions are compatible with our rural farmers' method of farming. So now the issue becomes, how do I encourage the rural farmers to grow more organic for me so that, I mean, I wouldn't have to worry about residue levels, just satisfy the conditions of organic fruits, organic production, then I should have no problem with EU, because I will be at where EU is trying to get.
Next stop, another success story, Farmer Pine on the outskirts of the capital Accra, a cooperative that helps farmers produce those tasty organic fruit.
Essentially, Farmer Pine is a cooperative of farmers, small-scale farmers and exporters.
And what we do is we supply the farmers and with inputs to produce a quality, an ideal quality pineapples. So I think if you produce a better pineapple quality, it pays.
Yes, we are getting more money at the same time we are producing more. We are expanding our farms.
But, oh dear, there's another problem. The globalized world market is fickle.
Now the farmers are producing and producing and producing. And our share in the market is such that at times you have the fruit, but then the buyers will tell you, don't bring it. These are some of the things.
You see, yes, sometimes they will ask you to bring maybe 40 tons of pineapple. Then at the last moment they will tell you, I will need only 20 tons. You see, meanwhile you have already made allocation for all these things. So this will be left out, and you will pay for it.
Why are they behaving like this? Why are the buyers behaving this way? They will ask you for 2 tons and eventually take only 1 ton.
I think there are competition. So where you have these multinationals, when they flood the market, you are nowhere. So I think that has been the problem.
Boats against the current, Ghana seeing its future in exporting, but somehow borne ceaselessly back into the past. A past of poverty and rules that always seem loaded against it. Time for life to take a tour of its own, to find out why, and to find out if the people who make and think about the rules of the world trade game have any answers. First, Washington, where the World Bank has become an advocate of sustainable development through what it calls fairer trade.
I think there's no doubt, and I've advocated for a long time, that the trade issue is central. Also, the proportion of money that the developed countries are putting into trade barriers so outweighs the amount of money that they're putting into overseas development assistance that you only have to hear the numbers to know that you have to get the two together. In trade, for example, the developed countries spend on subsidies for agriculture $350 billion a year. That's $1 billion a day. And the amount of money put into overseas development assistance is $50 billion a year. So you've got 7 times the amount of money that is going for development going into just one aspect of inhibition of trade. What we want is for developing countries and the people in them to have a chance to work their own way out of poverty. And if you give them a chance to manufacture and grow, but then deny them market access, then you're hypocritical.
Princeton, New Jersey, Ivy League America. On campuses across the world, some anti-globalization protesters argue free trade harms development. Remember those cheap imports. So we asked Princeton's world-famous trade guru, if free trade is the friend or enemy of sustainable development.
It's not exactly a friend or an enemy. It's to the extent it leads to economic growth, it leads to some environmental pressures. To the extent that it leads to economic growth, it makes countries richer and more able to deal with their environmental problems. And it's certainly, I think if you look on balance, it's not a negative. It's a slight positive.
What do you make of the critique of the anti-globalization movement and the notion that we should have, instead of having freer trade, we should have more self-sufficiency in developing countries?
I guess I wonder if they remember what the world was like 25 years ago. See, I'm pro-globalization, and ultimately the reason I'm pro-globalization is I remember the utter hopelessness that we used to feel about developing countries. And we used to say that developing countries was that was a joke, because developing countries meant countries that don't develop. And we've had successes since then, not across the board, not everywhere, not everything you want, but we've had some successes, and all of the successes are associated with freer trade, with growing exports. And I just don't think, I think these people are romanticizing what it was like before this move towards globalization.